Today we're continuing our series on Cloudflare Workers, and we're gonna add BetterAuth today. This is a continuation on my previous video. There's a branch here in this repo. It's linked in the description, and we're basically starting from video 01 Drizzle D1. This is that if in the future, if you come back to this video, master will be diverged, and so we'll start from that branch. And let's just get started. So here is my Wrangler JSON file. This is what you'll have to. And I have an application, Svelte guestbook, from the last video. I don't want to touch this one because there's two nice comments from Brandon and Brian. Thank you for that, guys. And we're gonna just create a new one. So in here we'll call it SvelteKit guestbook Auth. That will be our worker. And then our D1 database, this is the old one. I'm going to comment that out. And I'm going to say Wrangler. Let's open this Wrangler here. Wrangler D1 create guestbook DB auth. That's the one we're creating. And this will create our database. It's created. And we're going to choose the binding. We're going to keep it DB to match the previous video. All right, here we have it. And the one thing we will need though is this migrations path so that we can apply the migrations and get the DB up and running. So now we will do Wrangler D1 migrations apply guestbook DB auth. This will make it a local version. And then we're also immediately gonna do a remote, which will be the production version. And now let's do a deploy, npm run deploy, and see whether or not our application is running. All right, it created our worker, Svelte guestbook auth. Let's click on it. And here we go. So this is what we had before. Now let's go and add BetterAuth. So we'll basically be following the instructions on the BetterAuth website, but I'll be modifying it to work in a Cloudflare worker. So we'll start with npm add BetterAuth, and then we will need two secrets, the BetterAuth secret and the BetterAuth URL. If you click this nice generate secret button here, it will create a secret for you. And we're gonna open up our .env, and we're gonna say BetterAuth secret, and the other one was BetterAuth URL. And for now, since we're doing a dev server with Vite, it will be 5173. Okay, and what's next? Now we need a BetterAuth instance. It can be in any of these folders. We're going to use lib server, this one over here, and we'll basically copy this Drizzle example because we're using Drizzle. So back here, source lib new file auth.ts, and paste it in. Okay, we're basically keeping everything except this DB thing. In our previous video, we created a get DB helper, and that's what we're going to use, get DB. Okay, import it, and let's open it up real quick. It basically returns a Drizzle instance with D1 if we pass a D1 database, and a libsql if we pass a file. And actually, that's what we're going to do for BetterAuth, because BetterAuth runs inside a node instance, the CLI at least, and not in the worker environment. So this will be clear in a second. So for now, we're going to say getDB undefined, because we don't have a binding when we run the CLI. And we need to pass the database URL. Okay, and the way to do this is just grab our Wrangler state, v3 d1, and then miniflare, and then see this object here, SQLite. That's our local DB, and it seems like a little bit of a hack, but actually it works great. So we're gonna copy this file path from the repository root, and then we're gonna say here, okay, it will be a file. The database URL is a file to this path. All right, this is only temporarily, by the way, and we will say this is SQLite. Okay, so now we've created an auth instance that will work with BetterAuth in the auth CLI. All right, and then here it says, okay, npx generate. Let's do that. but we are using PNPM. So we're saying PNPM DLX BetterAuth CLI generate. And I'm going to output it in this source lib server db BetterAuth schema.ts file. So let me run this. Yep. Okay. The schema was generated successfully. Great. So let's open it up. We're going to now have this BetterAuth schema. And this is the generated schema user, session, account, all the BetterAuth goodies. And we will now need this in our schema. And the easiest way to do it is just to re-export. We say export all from ./BetterAuth schema. Okay. So this will export all those tables in our main schema file. And we'll need this in order to run our database migrations. So in our package.json, we have this make migrations one. I'm actually going to rename this to generate because that's what the latest SvelteKit app has. So PNPM run db generate. Boom. Okay, it created 5 tables in this file here. So let's do that. Create table account, session. Great. Okay, so let's apply those migrations. Wrangler D1 migrations apply. And in our guestbook DB, rainy speedball, that's this one. And we'll say yes. Okay, so now we have all those tables available to us. Now we can continue here. Next is authentication methods. Okay, we will be doing only Google right now. So we will open this Auth.ts and we're gonna say, okay, we need, what does it say here? Social providers. Social providers, Google, and we'll have a client ID, which will be env.google client ID, and we need client secret, which will be env client secret. Okay, both of these are not defined. Actually, we don't want it from Cloudflare Workers, but we want it from env dynamic private. This in Svelte, and we're immediately getting an error saying like, hey, this is not undefined. So let's open up our env, and we're gonna add this one here as empty, and the secret as empty. And then when we run our Vite dev server, let me rerun that here. PNPM run dev. Run the Vite dev server. This should automatically create those TypeScript bindings, and here we go. So great, no type errors here. Next up in this thing, we need the mount handler. Okay, the mount handler, we're using SvelteKit. We're just gonna copy this entire thing into our hooks file. Remember, we already have some hooks here, so we're gonna just update it. Okay, one thing we need is import auth, but since we're running this in a Cloudflare worker, we actually cannot be doing this. We're gonna do the similar thing that we did with our database, which is just that getDB, we're gonna do getAuth. So I'm gonna remove this thing for now. We do need this SvelteKit handler, so we put here in the top, and we need this building thing. All right, and then we're gonna return SvelteKit handler and remove this. Okay, now we need auth. How do we do this? Well, we're gonna say event locals auth equals get auth, and then we pass in the db event locals.db. Okay, and of course you need to create this. So let's start with get auth. We can basically, we're gonna comment this out, right? Because we don't want to use this database URL. So we want to export a function get auth, which takes a D1 database, and it just returns what we add here. And we can just say, okay, return this BetterAuth instance, and comment all this. And then instead of this getDB, we will say, okay, pass in the DB. All right. Now it's complaining. Why? Because DB might be undefined here. So it won't be, but we could throw an error. Actually, we'll just make this non-optional here. That will do too. Okay, so now we have this getAuth function. So in our hooks server, we can say locals auth equals get auth, import it, not assignable. Okay, so what we need to do here in this get auth, we're actually passing a Drizzle client. And there we go. So the Drizzle client is what we have here, the return type of getDB. And now we just need to say it, tell auth, what is auth? Well, we will do something similar as we did with our getDB. In our getDB, we have this export type, return type. We're going to do the exact same thing for auth. So we're going to say, okay, export type BetterAuth equals return type of this. And then in our app.d.ts, we're going to add a new thing, right? We're saying, okay, auth, and we want this to be called BetterAuth. And let's import it as well. Import type BetterAuth from libauth. Okay, so now our hooks should be happy. And in here, we should say auth equals locals auth. No type errors. Great. Let's see. Now we will update our main route to show any session, right? So we've got routes, this one, and I have a little snippet I'm going to copy in, which will basically get the user session. So let me paste it in here. It just say, hey, if there's a session user, then show the image, and if not, show me login. This is not defined yet, right? So in this server action here, we can say, okay, const session equals await locals auth get session. Let's read the docs here. It will say it under basic usage, and then session, right? And then we have a server-side session that needs this headers. Okay, here's Svelte. So we're just gonna copy this and go back to our code here and say, okay, it was close. So auth will be locals.auth, and request we need to add here. So now we have a session, and let's return it, session. Then our Vite server should run, and now in the page we should be able to see a session come, and we may have to sometimes rerun the dev server. There we go. Okay, now we have user and all that. Cool. So we're almost there. Let's see what it looks like right now. If we open up our dev server. Okay, we have a login page. We haven't created it yet. That's our next step. Right, it's gonna be a 404. And we also need the client, so we can actually call BetterAuth. So I already created this folder here, login, and I'm gonna add page.svelte. And in here, we're gonna have a very simple button. To save us some time, I'm gonna copy it in again, right? And it's just a login button. It calls the auth client sign in social with Google. And we need the auth client. Okay, so back to our docs here. In the installation, there is a client right here. So create this client. We'll go to the Svelte thing, and we literally will just copy this. So we're gonna go source lib, and we're gonna call this auth client.ts, paste it in, and actually we can just remove the base URL because we're running it on the same domain, right? Cool. So now we have auth client here that this thing is gonna get, and we should be able to log in with Google. Now, of course, we made this with an empty environment variable. So we're going to open up the Google Cloud Console and create a client ID and a client secret. In here, I already have a project, and you can just create a new project in Google Cloud Console. And then what you want to do is you want to search for Auth. And there's Google Auth Platform. Yeah. And in here, you should be able to see clients. All right, I have one client for the blog post I made a while ago. I'll link it below. And we're going to create a new client. And this client will be a web application. And we'll just say YouTube. And okay, now we need the origins. There's two origins, right? The first origin is our dev server here. Let's go back. And the second origin is what we deployed earlier, this thing. This is our production URL for now. Let's do this. And then our callback will be similar to this. But since we're using Google, you'll be able to see here with authentication, Google, that's gonna say, okay, the return should be /API auth call by Google. That's the return, the callback URL. So we're gonna do it for this one with a single slash at URL. And we're gonna do it for this one with a single slash. All right, create. Now we have a client ID. Let's copy that bad boy into our environment variables. And we will also have a client secret. And copy that bad boy in here. Okay, let's see. We should be able to log in now. Let's open it up here, localhost. We're gonna have a login button that we created earlier. We're gonna click login with Google. Choose an account. You're signing into SvelteKit guestbook. Awesome. Great. Okay, this worked. So we've basically added BetterAuth. Now the logout button doesn't work, so let's fix the logout button and then deploy it. So in our server, in our route, we have this simple logout button. Do this, and it doesn't do anything. So we're going to say onClick equals an async function, and first we want to call the auth client, and we're just going to say sign out. That's await auth client. Import it. Okay, I've imported sign out, and then since we're using SvelteKit, we want to invalidate all and import that as well. Need a bracket here, bracket there. Okay. And now if I refresh and I say log out, boom, we're logged out. Okay. So let's put this in production. Make sure that we run the migrations in the remote. I think we already did, but let's do it one more time. Okay, we did not for the remote. And then we need to set those environment variables, right? Because we have these here, these work locally, and these are not going to work remotely. And there's 3 environment variables, 3 secrets, and 1 just like variable, the auth URL, right? This is not a secret. So we'll begin with this BetterAuth URL, right? What's the BetterAuth URL? It's this thing, the Svelte guestbook auth. And I'm gonna open Wrangler, and there's gonna be this vars right here. So let me uncomment this vars. I'm missing comma here, and we're gonna say BetterAuth URL will be this production value. Perfect. Now this is that variable. The other ones are secrets though. So we're gonna go here and we're gonna say Wrangler secret put, and we'll call by BetterAuth secret first, and then you need to paste it in. So we'll just copy it from here, paste one. Then we're gonna say Wrangler secret put Google client ID. That's this thing. And then finally, Wrangler secret book Google client secret. And this is the value. Cool. pm run deploy. It's deployed successfully. Okay. Let's refresh our application. A nice login button. Let's click it. Log in with Google. Whoop, whoop. It's pretty cool, right? We've authenticated with BetterAuth. And now let's finish up our application. And instead of using this name here, we're going to be sending it as the authenticated users that's logged in. So to do that, we're going to have to update the schema. So here's the schema. And instead of this user, this name here, we will be saying, okay, actually, we're going to have a user ID that will be a text that will link the user ID. And this will not be null, right? Because we always have a user. And this will reference a user.id. And user is this from our schema. Oh, this import needs to run correctly, which is like this. BetterAuth schema. Okay, this works. And one extra thing is on delete, we want to cascade, right? Because if I'm deleting the user, I also want to delete their messages. And with this, we should be able to run the migrations again, right? So migrations, oh, sorry, that's going to be pm run db generate. And we created a new column. Okay, let's create a gray roulette SQL. Let's open it real quick. Gray roulette SQL. And it just added this user ID and it dropped this other column. Cool. So now we can say migrate. Wrangler do on migrate. Let's do it locally first. Yep. And let's do it remote as well, just so I won't forget. Yep. So now we have this and we can update our query. So in this page server, we have select from guestbook messages. That's all great, but we actually now need to do inner join. And we're joining which table? The user table. And we're joining it where the user ID is equal to the guestbook messages user ID. Okay, let's do some imports. So you got this right here, user correct, and EQ from Drizzle, also correct. And now we'll update the client. Let's see the client here. And for now, we're just gonna return everything. This is not the best way of doing it. You can like do a partial select, but for the sake of time, we'll just return everything here. So we have messages now, and here you can see it's now guestbook underscore messages and user. Great. So we'll open up the page. I have a TypeScript error. Name here. Okay. Yeah. So in here we don't have name anymore in the action. So for now we'll just copy this session, and we'll say okay. If no session user, then throw no error not authenticated. And that's only so that we can do insert user ID session.user.id. And what am I missing here? Session pretty null. Okay, so if there's no user, then just throw. So we'll insert with the current authenticated user, and we need to update the UI as well. So instead of message.name, we're now going to have message user.name. And sometimes if this doesn't work, you have to just restart the Vite servers. Let's run pm dev. Okay, here we go. Message username, message guestbook, message country, and do the same for, is it guestbook message? Let's go here real quick to the server. It will be messages, guestbook messages. Okay. So guestbook messages, country, guestbook messages, message, and guestbook messages created at. All right, let's see if this works in our dev server. So I need to log in with Google. Oh, let me also just remove this name field here. Okay. And we can wrap it in like a nice if statement that if you're authenticated, let's just say, okay, if session, not session user, this, else show this, and then slash if. So, okay. Now we're authenticated. We see this. If we're not authenticated, we'll see it. First time the charm. Yay, that works. Cool. So this is our authenticated user. And finally, let's see if we can just deploy this. npm run deploy. All right, it deployed. Let's open it up, refresh. We're still authenticated. Does it work on production? Post. Yes. Yes, it does. All right, we've had a BetterAuth in like 25 minutes. So awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and leaving a comment below what we should do next. We basically got a working application now. So I think it's pretty cool. All right, see you next time.